Alright, how's it going? So I wanted to make a quick video. By quick, I mean this is going to be a fucking hour-long video. It's going to be ridiculous. So, if you're watching this, get in for a ride. But I want to make a video going over my personal politics to try to explain for this channel. So I made this video talking about the New Zealand political system at the moment, right? For the political election that is coming up in about a month. And, it did alright. And I would like to keep making videos more. And I think it's only fair to show my biases and how I think about the world. So normally my videos, I'm going to try to make them not as biased, so I have two videos for this channel in the works at the moment. I have a video about UBI, which might be a little biased because I want to talk about universal basic income and why I think it is good and, some of the drawbacks of it and things like that, right? So I want to talk about that. And also, I have a video about the history of the Rainbow Warrior and and New Zealand being non-nuclear and things like that. And I think that'll be an interesting video as well. More a history based like assessment of the situation instead of like instead of just my political opinions. But I want to show off my biases here, just to show you how I think about the world, where I sit on the political compass, all these things, right? So yeah, so this compass is so I'm going to be looking away. Sorry, my the way I have my phone set up to record this is a bit awkward. But so I'm going to be doing this test. So it's quite a famous test. The political compass test. I think this is the best test to show your political like leanings. It's a lot better than just the blank left or right, right? So it's designed with four quadrants in mind, right? So I'll just explain how it works. It like this website. I'll put the website in the description so you can do it yourself if you want. I'd highly suggest it. I think it's good to know where you sit and where and where like other people sit, and then you can know where you kind of agree with other people on policy and things like that. I think it's very important. So so I think this is the best test out there. So there's four quadrants. There is authoritarian right, there is authoritarian left, there is libertarian left, and there is libertarian right. Yeah, duh. So authoritarian left is more, to the extreme, right? It's communism. It's the state decides what everyone does, and it's about equality and all these things, right? They want to spread the wealth. They want to do all these things, right? So similar to the USSR, right? The USSR, Stalin, communist China, that would be within that section. Now, authoritarian right is more dictatorship, telling you what to do because I said so type thing, and that's things like to the extreme, Nazi Germany, right? Like obviously, you can be authoritarian right and not be a Nazi, and I think that's the issue with this political compass test is people think of it too much on the extremes. So I think you can be authoritarian left and authoritarian right without being equivalent to Nazis and fucking USSR Stalin. It's the issue that people look at politics as the extreme. They go, Bernie Sanders, he's a communist. Jacinda Ardern, communist. Oh my god, Trump, a fascist. It's like, can't they just be a bit right wing? Can't they be vaguely left wing? And I think it's a problem with our society that we go to the extreme, and then it's so hard to actually identify the extremes, right? Because look, they called Obama a socialist, right? And now look at even comparative to Obama, look at Bernie Sanders, right? Like how could you in your right mind say they're in the same ballpark of policy or ideas or anything, right? They don't share many similar thoughts, right? Like Obama clearly didn't want Bernie Sanders to be president, and then like Bernie Sanders isn't even left wing on extremely left wing on so many issues. Like he's not fully pro disarming the police. He's not pro huge cutbacks on the military. He's not even he loves guns. He's very pro gun. So to think that he's this communist is so stupid. So sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there. So libertarian left. So that's more so the concept of libertarianism is that don't tread on me, man. Like the state staying out of my life, letting me do what I want to do, and that would be libertarian left is more the hippie type person, right? Maybe to the extreme, right? Or the anarchist, right? Of wanting no government telling me what to do, but also wanting things like equality and, hating on, what's the term I'm trying to think of? Like not they want like hate speech laws and things like that, which is kind of awkward. I think libertarian left is an awkward position. I think, well, I'll get to it later, right? Because spoiler alert, I'm in the libertarian left. That's where I'm gonna sit. I'm quite not extreme, but I'd say I'm closer to the extreme than the center. I would say in the libertarian left, but we'll see. I've done this test before, but we'll see how it comes up because sometimes I change my mind on questions. Sometimes I have different readings of what the questions mean. But yeah, and then libertarian right would be more what you more think about as a libertarian. So as like a Rand Paul or a Ron Paul like a New Zealand example would be like an ACT party or like a David Seymour. That would be your right wing libertarian, and that's more like decreased taxes, non don't do offensive wars overseas. Let people live their lives, right? Let people make whatever contracts they want. More extreme libertarian right would say like no minimum wage. We can't have that. No welfare at all. So those would be the type of things, right? They're the don't tread on me type people. All right. So this test, it's designed with just 4 answers. They give you a prompt, then they go strongly disagree, agree, and strongly agree. Like they say in this that these questions are more to bring up ideas inside you, and I do agree with that, right? Like it's to make you think on things that you don't really think about. Like I remember there's a question about GMOs in this that I don't know fuck all about GMOs, right? Like I'm pretty oblivious on that, so it's hard to answer, right? But it makes you start thinking about ideas you haven't thought about, right? It's like if someone asked you like how do you feel about like a wealth tax or whatever, and it's like, oh, I never really thought about a wealth tax. Let me think about how my views are, and your views on other subjects should affect your views on new subjects, right? Because your moral compass should align to agree on similar things, right? Like if you think that you should be able to, there shouldn't be a minimum wage because you should be able to make whatever contracts you want, then you should think that something like prostitution should be legal, right? Because they're kind of similar, right? Because like why should I be able to make a contract with another person, but they're not at this time, right? Like they're kind of the same thing. But anyway, so I'll get to the quiz. So, and I'm terrible at reading, so I'm going to be terrible. So, so I try to read along. So, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve the human race rather than the interests of transnational corporations. So, this is saying that if globalism is real, is inevitable, then so should the outcomes benefit humanity or should it benefit the business? And the issue with a question like this is a person who would say benefits the corporation would say, well, but in through benefiting the business, it would benefit humanity as a whole. But I don't agree with that. I think I'm quite blunt on it that obviously it should benefit the human race. So I'm going to go agree, because the whole reason we work is to feed everyone, right? The market is to benefit everyone, right? And we could have a discussion whether open and free markets cause better outcomes for people, right? But what we don't have to have a discussion of is what is the purpose of the free market, and that is to benefit everyone, right? So we should so strongly agree on that one. I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. That's such a ridiculous statement. Like, anyone who goes agree on that is so stupid. Like, I'm not one to bring up, just go Nazis every time, but if you see someone gassing Jews, you should be against it, regardless of what country you're born in. I'm also not that nationalistic, right? I like my country. Like, I love my country. I think we have good ideals and a good culture and a bunch of good people around, all these things, right? But just because I'm born in this landmass doesn't mean that no matter what the people in this on this landmass say or do, I should love. It's stupid. It's stupid. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. That's kind of similar to what I'm saying, but I am proud of my country. So I'm gonna say disagree because I am proud of my country because like you and the people around you are affecting it and making it what it is. So yeah, it's a disagree. So our race has many superior qualities compared to other races. Of course not. So stupid. Like, I don't even need to address that. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. See, like, there's a few, like, non-political things in here. Like, I think disagree, because I think, like, think of it as a foreign policy argument, right? If one country is doing egregious actions and another country is doing egregious actions, I shouldn't just be on one side of them to defeat one of them, right? Like, that's stupid, right? And I'm not even for, intervening in other people's politics, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Military actions that defies international law is sometimes justified. Like, I'm a believer in international law, but the way it is framed at the moment with, Saudi Arabia being on the Human Rights Council of the UN and having, America, China, and Russia having sign off things in the UN, like, it's kind of stupid that I think, yeah, like, military action would be justified if required, right? I don't think all military action just in general would be justified, but I think in certain situations it would be, regardless of what the international law says. Because I think there is a morality regardless of what the law says, and even that you should break the law if it means doing the right thing. Yes, I do believe that. Yeah. So then, yeah, it's agree. I don't think strongly because I do believe in the broad concept of an international law, like international treaties and concepts and stuff. Like, I like the Geneva Convention and things like that, right? So I do believe in that type of thing. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. A worrying, I think there is an increase in fusion between the two, but is it worrying? Like, is it better that people get their information from John Oliver instead of, the news? But if people aren't going to watch the news, then maybe they should get it from John Oliver, right? Even though it's got a biasy to it. I go disagree. I don't think it's worrying. But not entirely. I'm not sure. Okay. People are ultimately divided by class more than nationality. I think this depends on what country and where you are, but mostly I agree, right? I'm not one to agree with Marx on a lot of things, but I think he outlined this perfectly, that people are divided on race, like down their their class lines, a lot more than they are based on ethnicity. And it's easy for me to say that because I'm white, right? Like, like, I'm not discriminated against, so it's hard, like, into the level that, black and brown people do, right? So, yeah, it's difficult. It is, but I do think, like, when you see, black people arrested more than white people for certain crimes, I can also look at it going, poor people are arrested by more, and sure, due to racist laws and systems, black people have become poor and all these things, right? But I think these systems are targeting poor people more than they are targeting, say African Americans in America or just Polynesians in New Zealand. I think that if we alleviate class struggles, right? Well, I don't think you can fully alleviate class struggles, right? Especially in a market system. But I think that if you raise people out of poverty, get more people into the middle class, cover the needs of people, things like that, it will decrease crimes, right? And then lead to better outcomes. I think that is better than going hard on just solving race issues, which I do think is also important. Like, I don't want to put that aside. So I think like, low-key strongly agree. Strongly is a lot. I'm gonna go agree. I do think they're more separated on nationality, though. Than on class and nationality. Controlling control. Get ready for this. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I disagree. I strongly disagree. Like, some people might say if you control inflation, the market will take care of the unemployment or whatever. Well, I don't know. I think that, that if the government cares and goes for unemployment, but is employment 100%, like, is that the 100% goal and just don't care about inflation? I guess that's what the answer would be if I go strongly disagree. So let's just go normal disagree, because I don't think, say, let's go all out on getting everyone a job, but let inflation go crazy is the correct idea. I think that going employment and going 80% into unemployment and 20% into inflation would be the way to go, right? Well, whatever that's just an example. But yeah, I'd go disagree. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they must need regulation. Yes, they do. I am torn in my country of New Zealand because I think that we do not... our corporations are not causing the amount of environmental issues as countries like China and America and things like that. That is not me saying we should, throw it out the window and do nothing. But that's me saying that we should get international pacts with countries such as China, America, the EU, the UK, Canada, and come together internationally. Similar to the Paris Climate Agreement. I don't think that was perfect. I think there was a lot of issues in that. I think it could have been better. More focused on environmentalism. But I think that just New Zealand alone, like where I live, right, that it would not be, it's not sound. I think that is something that a lot of the right wing parties bring up, like especially ACT, right? They constantly say, what's New Zealand going to do? If New Zealand got to 100% carbon neutral, what's they going to do? What's they going to do from the global warming? It is nothing, and that's. But I still think it's important, right? So that's why I say I think it's international. But yeah, obviously regulations need to do it. You can't just trust corporations to do it. You need to regulate them. From each according to the ability to each according to the need is a fundamentally good idea. So that is Marx, I believe. He said that. And from each according to the ability to each according to their need. I agree that I do agree in benefits. I do agree, with something like a UBI. I agree with helping the needy, all these things. And I think everyone should be working as much as they can. And we need to give people things that they need. So yeah, I do agree with that. But I don't agree with, fully taking everything from the hard working people. I'm not an extreme, socialist. I'm not even in that sector in this political compass. But yeah, I do kind of agree with that. Not to an extreme though. The freer the market, the freer the people. I disagree, not strongly, because I do think that regulations are important, right? And if I agree to that, then that's saying that I think decreasing regulations would mean people are freer, but I think that just means that corporations would take advantage of the environment more, take advantage of their workers more, and that's not free people. Like the thing that I think that a lot of right wingers, especially libertarians, don't see is being oppressed by a corporation is just as bad as being oppressed by a country. Like, maybe what I just said was a bit too extreme. Let me preface that. Obviously, a country can imprison you, can kill you, can, do all these things, right? A corporation can't, and you can go from one corporation to another corporation. But when you're lacking in skill, when your worker power is declined, where there's a decrease in jobs available, right? Like, say now in this recession, where workers have less power and less negotiation skills, the employee can just, the employer, can tell them to do whatever the fuck they want. And that is as oppressive as a dictatorial regime in a country. So yeah, I do think that regulations and stuff make people free. because by not having government regulations that we decide on, right? Because we're the bosses of the government, right? Even though there's corruption and not enough people vote, all these things, right? At the end of the day, we put those people in office, and we have the ability to take them out if they don't do the regulation that we want. We can't do that with corporations. If Jeff Bezos, or Amazon, in general, just decide to like cut bathroom breaks or go against people's rights as an employee, these employees can't vote Jeff Bezos out. They could change jobs, I guess, but what, put their lives at risk, where they can't feed their kids, all these things, like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I disagree on this. It's the free market's not free to the people, but I do think that people should be able to make their own choices. They should be able to start businesses. They should be able to do all these things. Right? I'm not fully on, government owning all businesses and all these things. Right? Yeah, I'm not a socialist, but I got something in my eye. Ugh. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. I disagree. Like, I don't think that it's terrible. I think there are awkward situations in people taking advantage of water and things like that. That's not really what the question's talking about, right? Like, especially New Zealand. New Zealand has an awkward situation where we just let corporations just bottle our water for free, and like we don't tax that water. We don't like sell it to them or anything. It's kind of ridiculous. But that's not what the question is asking. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I disagree, but I think libertarians who hate regulation, who hate all these things, especially right-wing libertarians, right? Who hate government laws, all these things, but then love land, right? Like, decide that, no, this is my land, and here's why. It's kind of stupid. I think it is. I do think that land, in a general concept, could be bought and sold. I think maybe the balance of power or the balance of land ownership is out of whack. Like, maybe too many of a certain type of people own certain land. Like, you see it in South Africa, right? With so many white people owning farmland, right? It's something ridiculous. Like white people in South Africa make up like 10% of their population, yet own 70% of their farmland, and like it's disgusting, right? Like, and I think that's evident all over the world. In New Zealand as well. Like, we have a housing shortage, and the fact that we don't have something like capital gains on housing speculation and things like that should be, well, we do on speculation, but on profit made by houses and skyrocketing rent and all these things. I think there is an issue with who owns what land, but I wouldn't say that land shouldn't be bought and sold. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes have been made by people who simply manipulate money by contributing nothing to their society. Strongly agree. I think it is disgusting. And you might say, oh, but I'm providing capital for a business. No, you're fucking not. You're only doing that if you buy from an IPO, right? If you buy from a stock from the company, you're putting money into the company. If you're buying a stock from another person who already owns the stock, you're just manipulating money. Especially if you buy a stock and sell it the next day, you're just a speculator, and then you're just making money like that. You're not adding shit to society. You're not doing anything. You're taking advantage of a system that is important. I think that the stock market is important to getting money into companies and all these things, right? That stuff is vital. But to think, people just buying and selling stocks, like, you can do that and add nothing to society, and so many people do. Yeah. So, and where is that money coming from? It's coming from other people, right? Like, speculators get money from people who are too stupid, or, they're not smart enough to understand how the stock market works, and that's where their money's coming from. It's a fucking, like, Ponzi scheme, really. Like, because frankly, where does that money come from? It's from idiots who buy it too high, it's from idiots who sell it too low, all these things, right? And these people rake in the money and add nothing. They just rob you, and it's disgusting. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. I do agree. I'm kind of stuck in the middle of trade. I'm not that knowledgeable on trade, and I don't have a lot of very like precise views. So I'm gonna go agree, because I do think that the problem with international trade is that people are at different levels, right? So in New Zealand, and in a lot of the Western world, we have high health and safety costs. We have, high wages that we have to pay, and by competing with a country like China or India or anything in Asia or Africa or wherever, right, that doesn't have these regulations, which I think is important for workplace, for worker protections, right? I think all these regulations are important. And then to compete with countries that don't have these regulations makes an issue. I think, like, the best way for trade, right? Like, there's something I've been toying around recently. Is we should just have like an international, like a free trade, like concept, right? Like not like the TPP, right? Which it had many flaws, but a lot of flaws, right? But like a free trade concept that countries can go in only if they meet certain requirements, such as, a minimum level of health and safety, a minimum level of minimum wage, a minimum, have a minimum of these things that we in Western, free societies have agreed that are important for employers to offer and to give to their workers. So that's what I think. So I think that when you have to compete with countries that don't have these extra costs, our people need a bit of a leg up, I think. And that's when sanctions and embargoes and all these things are important. Not really embargoes. What am I talking about there? But the only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. I do agree with this, because that's what a company is. Like, we can't act like we want to be in this free market society, right? And then say that companies should be doing other things, right? I do think they should have some responsibility to the environment and things like that. But frankly, why should they have to do anything more than the minimum requirement? Like, the only reason they should do more is to try to, astroturf and to try to get people to like their company because they do better for society. Why does McDonald's donate to children's charities and stuff? Is it because they like fucking children's charities? Is it because the people that own McDonald's love to give away their money? No, it's to benefit PR. They love that shit. If McDonald's didn't give any money to charity, we would be shitting on them. We'd be criticizing them. That's the only reason they do it. So I agree on this. And guess what? That means the government has to step in. The government has to be doing these social programs to benefit the unemployed people, to benefit charities, to benefit all these things. I don't think that, I think charity is important, but I don't think that things should be required from citizens to make choices like that, right? Like, we shouldn't be depending on citizens and companies to pay people's medical bills, for instance, or to fund local sports or things like that, right? I think there's lots of things that I think the government needs to be paying for, and maybe not local sports, but you know what I mean, right? Like, there needs to be some regulations to stop companies doing egregious things, and the government needs to provide for the people, for the environment, for everything around us, and it's not really a company's responsibility. The rich are taxed are too highly taxed. Strongly disagree. Especially like in New Zealand, I'm pro the increase tax brackets they're proposing. I think Nationals tax cuts are stupid that they're proposing in this current climate. Saying that it's going to benefit the recession's so stupid. Giving tax breaks to the rich aren't going to benefit anyone other than them. Other than the rich. And like, if you look at America and stuff, I think their corporate tax rates could be higher. I think there could be more tax brackets. Same in New Zealand. I don't disagree with those ridiculously high marginal tax rates that someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talks about. Like, if you can earn in your income, not in stocks or selling your business or whatever, in legitimate income, like $5 million, fuck you. You know, I don't give a shit about your 5 millionths and $1. You know, tax it at 70%. I don't give a fuck. All right, you shouldn't be taxed that high. Not when people are, you shouldn't be you're earning that much. Not when there's people starving on the street. And I'm not saying that, if you've worked hard to make a business, you shouldn't be able to make some money off that, right? So if you spent 10 years making a business and you sell it for a tidy profit, I agree that you should get a big chunk of that, right? You shouldn't be taxed at 70%. But we're talking about income, not at capital gains, right? So, and I think that's what a lot of people, well, a lot of people don't understand tax, right? And like, I study it, right? So I study a BCom, a business and commerce degree. And like, and even I'm an idiot, right? I don't know everything, right? I'm just a dumb kid. I'm 21. But most people don't understand how the tax brackets work. I bet most people don't know how progressive taxes work. Like in New Zealand, we don't have a capital gains tax, and most people don't understand how, like, what that would benefit. They're like, oh, I don't want my house to be taxed. It's like, it fucking won't. Like, I think the people who don't want their stuff taxed, the very rich and the wealthy, they intentionally mislead poor and ignorant people to fucking simp for them, to benefit their higher money. Those who have the ability to pay should have higher access to the standards of medical care. Higher access. I do agree with socialized medicine in New Zealand and stuff, but I do think that private hospitals and stuff are important. I don't think that all hospital care should be the same and stuff. So I do agree with that, but with the precaution that maybe I disagree then. To pay more, access to higher standards. No, I do agree. But yeah, I agree with socialized medicine. I believe in all these things, right? I don't think anyone should have to pay out of pocket for large medical bills, but I do believe that at some level private business should operate within that, right? Like even though I think that there should be private hospitals, like in New Zealand we have we have private and public hospitals, right? And I think there should be both. Yeah, why not? Governments should penalize businesses for misleading the public. Yeah, strongly agree. Yeah. Sorry, I have an itchy nose. Yeah, strongly agree. Yeah, sure. Like, don't mislead the public. You have to tell the truth. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Strongly agree. You can. This is another thing, right? Like what I was saying before about large companies, controlling the individual like a country does, right? Like a dictator country does. Multinational corporations are bigger than so many countries. Like if Amazon or Apple or whatever came to New Zealand and wanted to do stuff, they're like as big as our country. They're so huge, and they can make these decisions. They can strongly impact us, especially in the third world, right? I'm in a first world country, right? But imagine the amount of power that multinationals hold in parts of Africa and in the Middle East and in China, or not China, in Asia. Sorry, it is ridiculous. Oh, my nose is so itchy. Oh, yes, I strongly disagree. And obviously, the free market allowed to operate by itself would eventually lead to one company. That's a fact. That is how the free market would work. Without trust laws stopping monopolies being formed, companies will just consolidate and buy up all companies, and there would just be one company, and that's that would be the dictator country. That's our new dictator, and it's stupid. Yeah, it annoys me that people don't see that how countries and companies are so similar like that. Abortion, when a woman's life is not threatened, should be always illegal. Strongly disagree. Should be always illegal. Am I strongly disagreeing? Yeah. I was thinking about making a video on abortion, not talking about my own personal views, but talking about how we have the wrong discussion about abortion. Because, people pro-abortion are always like, oh, a woman's right to choose, it's my body, my choice, all that shit. But that's the wrong argument. not the right argument, because the anti-abortion people, they're not arguing that the government should be fascist for and stopping women do what they want with their body. Their argument is there's a baby that is being murdered, and if you think there's a baby being murdered, you should do everything you can to stop it, right? Fact. You're an asshole if you don't do that, and they think that it is. So the argument should be whether it is a baby or not, and whether it is murder or not, and things like that, right? That's the argument. Throw a woman's life right to choose out the fucking window. It pisses me off. Every time I hear it, I groan. It is so annoying. All authority should be questioned. I agree. Like, not strongly agree. But, like, I generally think that, you know, authority should come from the people, right? Like, especially in government, right? So any government official should be voted in. Like, I think it's so ludicrous in America how you have, you know, all your secretaries and stuff in the executive. You vote for 2 people in the executive. You vote for the president and the vice president. And every other person is just decided on a whim. I guess that you know, the Senate technically elects them, but it's just stupid, right? Like, in New Zealand, you know, all the equivalent to a secretary is a minister, right? And all ministers are made up from the legislator, made up from parliament, members of parliament, as our executive and our legislator kind of mix. Watch my first video, you know, watch my video on the New Zealand political system, and it'll explain. But yeah, so yeah, I agree. You know, it should always be questioned. You know, like, if there's a king, you should say, why is there a king? You know, who elected you? Who elected you? An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. See, like, that's not a political question. It's kind of stupid. I disagree, because I don't believe in, you know, I believe in, you know, apologies and all these things. You know, I believe in forgiveness. So I don't necessarily think that you should you know, punish people straight away. You know, like, punish people, what's the term? Not straight away, but punish people to an equivalent crime, say. Like, I don't believe in capital punishment, right? I don't believe in the death sentence. So, and that would be an eye for an eye, right? That would be, you kill someone, you die. You know, I don't agree with that. So, yeah. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theatres or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I'm torn, because the thing that gets me with this is museums. I think museums are very important, right? And I don't think that they can survive on 100% on a public basis, right? They are on a private basis. I think that public money is required in museums. And, like, yeah, in arts, fuck 'em, right? I'm big on the arts. I love movies, right? I'm big on film, and, like, go watch my film review channel. But the government shouldn't be propping that shit up. You know, that's private shit. If anything is private shit, entertainment is private shit, right? But on the news, on you know, on museums and history and things like that, I think that is all things that the government should prop up. So I'm going to go disagree. Taxpayers should not be expected. Yeah, I'm going to go disagree, but with that, explaining to you that you know, theaters and stuff should be independent. Should be independent, not government run, but museums and stuff should be. Should be government run. Schools should not make classrooms attendance compulsory. I'm always torn on this, right? Because I do not agree with punishing parents for their kids being away, right? But, like, I think that, like, schools are really important and things. So I think schools should not make. Why is this double negative? Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I'm going to disagree. So I think it should be compulsory to come to class, up to, you know, a certain age or whatever, right? Like, you should be able to leave school at some time, right? But, yeah, well, you know, if you're, like, you know, like, you're 12 years old, you should be in fucking school. You know, I don't care if you don't like it, right? Like, we can talk about education and benefits, and that could be made, you know, improvements could be made in the educational system, but at the end of the day, kids should be educated. So, like, you can't not go to school. But I do disagree with punishing parents for their kids not going, right? Well, because that's just extra stress, right? Like, the kids that don't go to school, they're kids in more bad neighborhoods, right? And where their parents not really looking after them as much, right? And taxing those sorts of people, those poorer people, is just going to lead to them beating their kids more, or just lead to their parents, and their kids being less close. Like, I think it's stupid. So what is next? All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should stick to their own kind. Fucking hell, like. Fuck you that clicks this, right? I'm all for freedom of speech and freedom of opinion, but fuck you. Protect my, freedom of speech to tell you to go fuck yourself. Good parents sometimes have to spank their kids. Strongly disagree. I'm, not all for that, eh? Nah, I think there are other, I'm all for discipline, but, physical abuse, you can't punch an adult, right? Two adults cannot fight, right? That is against the law. But you know what isn't against the law in many countries? Hitting a fucking child. A person who is not aged to a certain amount. But and suddenly you get to a point where it's like, no, sorry, you're not going to get hit. But before that, yeah, it's fine, whatever. Your parents can beat the shit out of you, whatever. It's stupid, right? And I'm not, I do draw a line between, a spank on the ass and being the shit out of a kid, right? But I don't like it. I don't like any hitting. There shouldn't be any abuse on kids. No. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Sure. It's like, it's just stupid question. Like, there's some bad shit in this quiz. But, possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Strongly agree. Guess what? I'll go even further. I think most drugs should be legalized. Legalized, taxed, and regulated. And, sue me. I think you should be able to buy Adderall just at a store. You should be able to buy mushrooms. You should be able to buy acid. I would limit things like antibiotics, because there's a legitimate reason why people can't have that, because it will lead to actual, like untreatable diseases if we abuse antibiotics. But recreational drugs, right? And obviously I don't think date rape drugs should be legal or whatever. Maybe there's other uses for them, but you know what I mean. Even extreme, something like heroin should, a form of heroin should be legalized. I don't want to be stuck on this. All right, don't judge me for these views. I have. It's a bit more nuanced, but I can't just spend an hour discussing this. Maybe I should comment. Oh, sorry, I shook the desk. Comment in the comments if you want me to discuss my views on drug policy, because I think it is an interesting concept that I think people don't think about enough. I really don't think. I think people gone, legalize marijuana, but what, heroin? What, other people who like other drugs? No, I'm bad on that. I remember talking to my mom about it. So we have a referendum in New Zealand for legalizing weed in about a month, and she's like, "Oh, of course I'm gonna vote yes on that. I think it's stupid how weed is illegal. You should be able to do what you want." And I'm like, "Mom, pause, expand, go to heroin." And she's like, "No, I don't believe that." I'm like, "Then you're just like the people who are against weed. You're the exact same. You think that that your vices are good and other people's vices aren't." Sorry, I'm not on this. I'll talk about this another time. Prime function of schooling should be equip the future generation to find jobs. I actually disagree. I think that finding jobs is important, and learning to be a member of society is important. But I think that learning to be a member of society is more important than finding a job, whatever that means, right? The job. I'm trying to explain what I'm thinking. Education is to make you a better person. Your whole life isn't your job. You're not on this earth to do manual labor for someone else, to work for someone. You're here for enjoyment, right? You're here to live your life, and education is to make you be a more fulfilled person in your life, right? Like, my schooling allowed me to appreciate art more, allowed me to appreciate politics more, allowed me to understand business, allowed me to, of course, it allowed me to read and write and to function in a job, but is learning to read strictly for a job? No, it's for enjoyment as well. It's for driving and reading signs. It's for being a member of society. So no, I don't strictly think that it is for finding jobs. People with serious inheritable diseases should not be allowed to reproduce. It's an interesting concept, right? It is, and I do disagree because I don't think the state should be making these decisions. I think it should be frowned upon. I think we should judge people, right? Well, because I think there's always other options, right? Adoption, there's insemination, there's all these things, right? That you could dodge around these things, right? And it's kind of selfish, right? But again, I don't. It's not. We shouldn't be giving the government the power to decide who can and can't reproduce. Because guess what? They're gonna fucking abuse it. That's what the government does. like you get any power that the government gives, you any leeway, and you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. You can't just go, all right, well, we'll just we'll say Down syndrome people can't have babies, and then that leads to black people can't have babies. That's what it means. That's what government does. That's why I'm I have very libertarian views. I am skeptical of government control. I'm skeptical of letting them have power over you. And the government is a collection of people. There are bosses, but they're so easily corruptible. And that maybe that is in conflict with my views on regulation and things like that, but fuck it. The most important thing for children to learn is the concept of discipline. The most important thing. Like, what? The most important... I don't know what the most important thing for a child to learn is. To fucking read? I think learning to read is more important than discipline. Fuck you. Sorry, I'm a little drunk. I don't know why I don't know why I'm doing this after a few drinks. Yeah, I do swear a lot when I drink. I try not to swear in my videos, but whatever. There are no savage and civilized people. They're only different cultures. I flip flop on this question. So I think I've done this quiz twice before. Just recreationally, just to compare with my friends, and I am torn, right? Because I do think that not just Western society is the way to go, right? Like you hear so there was the indigenous people, the Maori in New Zealand, before the British came and colonized New Zealand, and then brought Western culture, brought a parliament, brought democracy, all these things, right? But why is inherently the Maori culture bad? Why could they not have grown from their system and done? I disagree with dictatorships and chiefs running things and all these things, right? Which was their system, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't have evolved into their own a more freer society like the rest of the world, with their own traditions and their own cultures. So obviously, I think that there are different cultures that aren't the same. But are there savages? Yeah, there's cannibals, right? Is that a different culture? No, it's savage, right? Look at... Yeah, there are bad cultures, right? To Goodwin's Law, mention the Nazis, but the Nazi culture was bad, right? Anti-Semitism was bad. So I'm gonna agree, not strongly, because there is that nuance of, I don't think that just Western society is the only good society, or necessarily even the best society. I don't know. I don't know all the societies. Who am I to say? I like a majority of what we have. I think there is a lot of bad stuff that we have, So, those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society support. I think they shouldn't expect it, but I think they should get it anyway. It is an important question, right? Because I think everyone should be working and adding to society. But the real question is, what if someone doesn't, right? Should they starve on the street? I think no. So I think I disagree with this, right? I think strongly disagree. I do not think that people who intentionally choose not to work, who intentionally choose to not be functioning members of society, should starve and have no shelter and have no minimum level of life. I think that their life is still important, even though they're assholes. We should judge them. We should stigmatize them. We should try to convince people not to live that life, and that their benefits or whatever shouldn't be higher to live a luxurious life. It should be to live a basic life, to eat, drink, and have shelter, those types of things, right? But I do not agree that someone who doesn't add to society should just starve. When you're troubled, it's better not think about it and to keep busy with more cheerful things. I agree. I don't know. It's, again, another dumb, non-political question. First-generation immigrants can never fully integrate within their country. Strongly disagree. So stupid. It's dumb. People who don't think that, people leave their countries for a reason, right? Why do people leave their countries? To get better jobs, because they want to go to another society, all these things, right? They don't like where they're living. They're coming to join your society, and you want to just say they're not good enough? But what, because they speak another language? Do I think that, immigrants coming to New Zealand should speak English? Yes, I do think that, right? But should they bring their own customs and their own food and all their culture? Yes. They shouldn't have to 100% become Western. That's stupid, right? But they can still fully integrate. They can still live with us. They can, work with us. They can, all these things, right? I think there is an issue with, say, too many people from one place coming in at once and then living all together in, those compact communities. Like you see, in Chinatowns and things like that, right? And especially now with big Mexican, communities in America, I think that is an issue. I would like people to mix more, right? I don't know. But yeah, this is a stupid question. What's good for the most successful corporations always ultimately good for us? I strongly disagree. Fuck you. This just adds to more of my corporation shitting on. If you're subbing for these big businesses, you're not understanding that they're equivalent to a business. They're equivalent to a government. A company gets so big that they are like their own country. They have citizens that they're ruling over, and it's bad. No broadcasting institution, however independent however independent its content, should receive public funding. Strongly disagree, actually. I think that public funding is important for organizations, especially now. So everyone would have heard about these, right? But the fact that that news is so out there, on Twitter and on Facebook and whatever, that you can find out what is going on. It is damaging real reporting and real news, right? Of fact-based reporting. And that stuff is important, and I think at some level the government needs to prop that up. And do I think the government should have any control over their doings? No. But guess what? Who's propping it up instead? Corporations, businesses, people who are not, who are not beholden to the people like the government is. Like Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. And do you think the Washington Post shits on Jeff Bezos? No, of course not. You won't find anti Jeff Bezos, articles in the Washington Post. Why is that? Because he fucking owns it, and it's bad. It's bad, and I like things like the BBC and things like that in the UK, and I think that things like we do have similar things in New Zealand, not fully. We don't have a 24-hour news or anything, but yeah, I think it is important for government funding. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Strongly agree. Maybe not necessarily in New Zealand, in my country, but look at America. Oh my god, the Patriot Act? Go fuck yourself. Oh my god. The very thought, like, look at Edward Snowden, right? He leaked and released so much information about what the NSA is doing and spying on, and he's marked as a terrorist and a traitor and he has to hide in fucking Russia to get away from that stuff, showing that the government can't be trusted with with that type of information, because they're going to abuse it. They're going to look into you without a warrant. They're going to all that stuff, and yeah, and it's not a partisan thing. Obama wanted to fucking arrest him. Trump said he would execute Snowden. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely disgusting. And it's not like I think that Obama and Trump are actually that different policy wise, but like I think you would struggle to see even a Bernie Sanders, right? Like, although I was the supporter of Bernie Sanders, I don't think he's perfect, but you would struggle to see a Bernie Sanders pardoning Edward Snowden. I don't think he would have done it. No. And I think it's bad. Like honestly, that is the first thing I would do if I was, the president of the United States. Pardon Edward Snowden. I think if I ever get into New Zealand politics or whatever, I think that I would want to pardon American people like that and invite them to New Zealand and live here. I think it would damage your relations with America and stuff, but I think what is morally right is better than what is economically right in that stance. A significant advantage of a one-party state is it avoids all arguments that delay progress in a democratic party political system. Like, technically, yes. Like, that is a significant advantage of a one-party state. I don't agree with it. I don't think there should be one-party states, but that is true. But like, it's a fact, right? Like, you could see in China, especially during COVID, right, how they could shut the country down so much easier than in a country like America, and all these things, right? Because it was a one-party state where they could make that decision, right? So yeah, I agree, but obviously I don't agree with a one-party state, and that's stupid. Although the although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree. The government should not be, reading your emails. The government should not be tapping your phones. The government should not be looking at your search history. That shit is your private shit. You would have a problem with a police officer knocking on your door, coming in and checking through your shelves and through your drawers, right? That's the same thing as tapping into your phone, and to think that, oh, I have nothing to hide, that nothing can be bad. That is so naive, right? Because you're assuming that the government is altruistic 100% of the time, and they're not. You see leaks coming out of the government constantly. You see issues like that, and you think that the government is like always going to be like a free democracy, right? Like I hate to keep going to Nazi Germany, but Nazi Germany, Germany was a free country until, till Hitler took over, and then guess what? It wasn't, right? And you don't think that if there was there was surveillance at that time that the democratically elected government was using for correct use, right? That the Nazis wouldn't have abused it to find the Jews and find traitor Germans and stuff. Of course they would have, right? So why give the government that power? It is stupid. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Strongly disagree. And I actually mainly disagree on it from the basis that too many innocent people die. Because we don't have a perfect way to prove innocence and guiltiness, I don't think anyone should be killed by the state for it. I think that, I just think that if after 20 years of someone being in prison and we find out they were innocent, you know, we can apologize. Well, it's a dreadful thing, you know, like obviously it should never have happened, you know, and we should look into why that happens and try to improve it from the future. But, what's the term I'm trying to think of? Yeah, but we can release them. We can compensate them. We'll just the government should give them a bunch of cash, let them live a great life, even since we're forced them to live in squalor, living in a prison, and we can release them. You can't do that if they're dead. Can't do it if you're dead. If there was a perfect way to know it, foolproof, like even so foolproof that even in the future there would be no way to question it, right? Which technically isn't possible, right? But if it was foolproof, I think I would be okay with the death penalty. I think in that case I'd be fine with like the Christchurch shooter in New Zealand be put to death. I don't think he should be now. You know, we don't have the death penalty, so it's not an issue, right? He's got the harshest sentence that anyone has ever gotten in New Zealand. Like he'll never, you know, get out of prison. But yeah, it's not something I'm into. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I disagree, because I think that the people commanding should be commanded by the people below. But like I don't believe in the caste system in India. You know, I don't believe in you know, in the class system we have now with, you know, with the very wealthy and the poor and the middle class and stuff. I think we can fix that and make it better. So yeah, I disagree, but I do agree that we can't just have no leaders, right? We have to have a prime minister, we have to have a government, right? But those people work for us. Sorry, there's a road cleaner on the road. Sorry about that. I don't know if you can hear that. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. See, it's not a political question, it's dumb. I disagree. I think anything can be art, right? Why not, right? I think this conversation right here is art. It's artful, right? I'll probably like edit a few things around, you know, like it's artful what I'm doing. Is it as artful as the Mona Lisa? Is it as artful as, you know, as a Scorsese film? No, it's not. But, you know, there are levels of art, right? How is it not art? I think, you know, abstract art's fine, whatever. Like, yeah, just because if it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea, right? In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. I disagree. I think punishment is important for certain crimes, but I think ultimately rehabilitation is the most important. I think trying to cut down on the revolving door and revolving door in prisons where people just get out and get back in, I think cutting down on the reasons why people go to prison is the most important thing. And, yeah, far more important than punishment. Yeah, definitely. So I don't strongly disagree, because I think, you know, punishment is important. You know, like, you know, for fuck murderers and rapists and stuff. You know, they're the worst, right? Do I believe they should be tortured and locked in solitary confinement? No, I don't, because I believe in some level of human decency. But yeah, that's why I'm not going to strongly disagree. But I do think rehabilitation is far more important. Like 90% to 10%, you know, more important. You know, it is a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals. Some? No. I think you should try to rehabilitate all criminals, maybe. But, like, I don't think that just letting them out is the way to go, right? Like, you have to have some level of certainty that they're not going to reoffend and things like that, right? I'm going to disagree. Yeah, I'm going to disagree. But then, again, like, it's like the Christchurch shooter. Do I think that if he apologized and he worked hard in prison and showed that he is, you know, loyal to society, and he did a degree while he was in prison. He started a foundation in prison. Should he get out of prison and then live the rest of his life? No, fuck him. So I don't know. I've gone to disagree, but maybe I'm actually going to agree on that. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Maybe yes at the moment, but give it a bit. You know, give it a bit, and it will be the other way around. When until automation kicks in and makes the business person and manufacturer more and more obsolete, and you'll see, you know, writers and artists being far more important in our society. Even though I do think that your art and life appreciation, all these things are far more important than your day-to-day job. I think that to make society function and stuff, the business person and the manufacturer are more important now. Yeah, but give it a bit. When to that but your post work, post industrial, environment comes in, and it will be the other way around. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. It's awkward, right? Because I do think that a parent's obligation should be to care for their child, right? But I disagree, because I think it's a collaborative effort. I don't think it's specifically the mother. Multinational corporations are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resource development of countries. See, this is the thing. I don't know shit about GMOs. I'm gonna go agree, because I do know that multinationals are taking advantage of unethically taking advantage of third world and developing countries, but I don't know enough about plant genetic modification and things like that, right? So I don't know specifically to the question, so I'm going to go agree, because I probably agree with that type of thing, because I think it would go along the same lines as how I think like Nike takes advantage of sweatshops in China and things like that, right? Making peace with the establishment is more important. Is an important aspect of maturity. Strongly disagree. You should fight for your ideals. You should not just make peace with the establishment. You should push them on things. Just going with the flow is not the answer. Astrology accurately explains things. Strongly disagree. Astrology is stupid. Don't at me. And that is definitely something an Aquarius would say. So yeah. You cannot be moral without religion. Strongly disagree. I'm not religious, and I think you're an asshole if you say that you can't be moral and non-religious, because, well, like, how do all the other religions get their morals? It's stupid. Charity is better than social security as a means to helping the generally disadvantaged. Strongly disagree. I think that social security makes sense, because charities, you can't rely on it. Elderly people need to rely on something, and they can't rely on the goodwill of other people to live, right? Does the average person earn enough to feed themselves, feed their kids, and feed their parents? No, they do not. They don't earn enough, right? The Social Security, you pay for it. You're paying towards it, and the average person gets back the majority of what they get, depending on how long they live, right? And if you die too early, fuck it, right? You're dead. What does it matter, right? If you're not getting the full benefit of Social Security, if you die before you get all the benefits. Some people are naturally unlucky, like, sure, right? It is important that my child's school installs religious values. Strongly disagree. Separate that church and state, baby. Don't teach creationism in schools. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Strongly disagree. I don't even necessarily agree with the institute of marriage. I think it's kind of dumb. My girlfriend gets upset when I say things like that, but fuck it. Yeah, marriage is kind of dumb. But, make a promise to someone that you'll... I agree with monogamy, but specifically marriage, like a contract you sign with another person, verified by the state, that's kind of dumb. And because I'm not religious, it's not important to me. Yeah. Same-sex couples in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Strongly agree, but I do think, right, that there are questions, right? I'm not putting any blame, right? But I do think that there are questions about whether having male and female role models in your life are important. Do they necessarily need to be a parent? Do your homosexual couple, do they not provide that, right? Say one B's more masculine, one feminine. I don't know. Can you not get, say if you have lesbian parents, can you not get masculine role models somewhere else? I don't know. But I do think that it's important, right? But then it's like, if you roll with that, you should also, you should also believe that solo mothers can't take care of their kids, and I don't believe that. So yeah, so I think yes, of course they can they should not be excluded from. Yes, it's so stupid saying not and exclude. You know, you should say should loving relationships. You know, should people be able to adopt? But whatever. Yeah, I strongly agree they should not be excluded. Pornography, despite depicting consensual adults, should be illegal for adult consumption. Strongly agree. Ben Shapiro has a whole book saying how porn shouldn't be, shouldn't be legal. It's consenting adults in their own bedroom. There's no difference whether they're in their own bedroom or if they've got a camera there. It's the free market, right? If the people want to pay for it, if the people want to see it, they will watch it. You know, if they don't, they won't. Like it boggles me. Free market people being against porn. It is so stupid. It's because they're held to their morally religious sentiments, right? There has to be. It's Ben Shapiro being a strong Jew that he thinks that that porn is bad. Oof, like it's so stupid. What goes on in the private bedroom between two consenting adults is no business of the state. Strongly agree. Same deal. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Strongly disagree. I do think that you're a product of your environment, and I think your environment could make you you're homosexual, not specifically just your genetics. And I don't think there's actually a lot of studies backing up that that there's genetic makeup that makes you homosexual. But I do think it's a natural thing, right? I don't think it's something that people just make up, whatever, right? Like these days, openness about sex has gone too far. Strongly disagree. I think that people should be open as much as they want. I think the stigma that we have around sex and around modesty of a person, especially on women, it's damaging, and I think it's a remnant from strong religious sentiments that have been in our societies, right? Like the church running the country, right? And because we don't have them anymore, I think people should be able to do what they want, right? Like, you can't be free market and not be pro this. It's so stupid, and this is why I'll be libertarian left. I'm guessing right in the middle of libertarian left. That's my guess from my thing. But I think I might be. So I think I'm about here, maybe around the letters, but to the left of the letters. But some of my trade ideas and stuff could pull me up. Some of my maybe me agreeing with some of the Marx quotes could push me up more to the authoritarian left. But let's see. So let's see. Yeah, so you got Stalin up there, Gandhi over here, Hitler, Thatcher. It does feel a bit mean to Thatcher over there, but it's all right. Yeah, see, I'm more or less where I thought I would be, right? Like, well, yeah, see, it's annoying it doesn't, like, break down some, like, questions and stuff, but it's alright. Like, that is more or less where I think I am. I believe in small state control over your personal life, but I believe in social programs and looking after the poor and equality and things like that, right? The way I look at it is you should be a free individual to do what you want as an individual, right? You should be able to smoke weed, you should be able to have sex with whoever you want as long as they consent, things like that, right? But where the government comes in and where regulations come in, it's on a corporation. Because a corporation, even though they are a collection of individuals, they have taken the further step to try and get into the marketplace, and then I think they do have more of an obligation, even though that might have conflicted with my previous answer of corporation has only an obligation to their shareholders. I think because that's basis of the current system, right? I think that corporations should have to care about their employees and the environment. The government should care about the environment, force it onto the employer and the corporation. So yeah, that is me. I have done the test. Do the test and let me know where you sit. Judge me on my views. Let me know what type of other videos you want. If you want that I'd love to talk about my drug policy and my views on drug legalization. Legalize, tax, and regulate it. And yeah, so I'd love to talk about that. So like, please let me know if you want. Yeah, if you want me to talk about that, like I beg you, I'd love some confirmation to talk about that and be more. I might do it anyway. Yeah. So cheers.